Cardboard coming at you from the great state of Louisiana with our every Friday weekly episode of Explore the Card. This is episode number 40, where we take a deep dive into a Michael Jordan insert or parallel from the 90s. Occasionally I'll dip into the 80s, but today we're featuring another one of the great, rare, short print, die cut inserts from the 1990s, and it is none other than the 1998 Planet Metal. This is a beautiful card, fantastic card. I can't wait to talk about it. I think this is going to be the first episode of Explore the Card that appears on the Luka Nation Network. So if you guys are new to my channel, new to these episodes, do me a favor, hit the like, subscribe button. Let me know in the comments what you think. If I am new to you guys and you're not been digesting my content over the last 9 or 10 months, welcome to the channel. I hope you guys enjoy it. I talk really fast, so keep up. Some people love it, some people hate it. Some people still think they need to put it on 1.5x, which I don't know how you could possibly hear anything that I'm saying if you sped me up, because I'm always working on energy drinks and an empty stomach when I come in early in the mornings down here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to bring you my content. Just you'll figure it out. I don't need to go through the basics. After you watch this episode, you'll kind of know what these Explore the Card episodes are all about. And so we always get started by looking at what I own, because I'm a transparent content creator. And on social media, I like to tell people when I do have a vested interest. Obviously, I own this card, so I've got it pulled up here, as you can see on my PWCC vault. Again, if you're new, I use the PWCC vault to house all of my Jordans. Please don't come down here in Baton Rouge and try to rob me. I don't have any of these cards. They're all in the vault. So this is my 1998 Metal Universe Planet Metal PSA 10. I'm very proud of it. Love the card. I think it's a really important card for Jordan collectors. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we get further down deeper into this episode. But as always, I like to share with you guys what I have. And so you know, and again, whether I have a Jordan card or not, I'm going to hype the shit out of it. So just prepare yourself. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge Jordan fan, a huge Jordan collector. I hype the Jordan cards that I don't even own. So I'm always going to be very biased. Just know that going in if you're new to the channel and if you've never seen these episodes before. I'm always going to be pro Jordan. As always, we like to look at the set that the insert or the parallel comes from. So this 1998 Planet Metal comes from the 1998 Metal Universe base set. I've got it pulled up here on the screen for you guys. It's a 125 card base set. The Jordan card within this base set looks like that. It is not your typical base card, right? So Jordan is card number 1 in the set. You're looking at it right there. This Jordan card in PSA 10 condition, get this, is 2,247 last sold, and it was in July of 2022. So that is a pretty high number for a PSA 10 base card from the 90s. As you watch more of these videos, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, you'll understand, you know, there are rare base cards out there, and this is one of them. And let me tell you why. In PSA 10 condition, the card that you see on your screen is a Pop 29, and thus that is why it fetched a whopping $2,247 in a July 2022 sale. There are the rookies in 1998. You know, we like to kind of remember, if you're buying boxes in 98, you were probably Vince Carter hunting, Paul Pierce hunting, Dirk Nowitzki hunting. I'm sure there was a lot of other rookies that were hot at the time, but those are kind of the big three from the year 1998. All three of those guys, clear-cut, first ballot Hall of Famers, fantastic players, and no doubt there. There's 7 inserts in the Metal Universe base set, and so let's pull those up. I've got them, and for those of you not familiar, I've got Trading Card Database pulled up on my screen. I use Trading Card Database to gather tons and tons of information about sets, about inserts or parallels that I don't know a lot about. This is an insert set that I don't really know a lot about until I put this video together. And so, like I always say on this channel, my purpose of creating content is to educate and entertain. Hopefully I can do a little bit of both. I'm not only trying to educate the hobby on some of the cards that we feature, but I'm also educating myself, because I learn more about these insert and parallels every time I do one of these videos. So educate and entertain, that's going to be an underlying theme for all of my videos. But let's talk about those insert sets. There's 7 of them. They're pulled up on your screen. The autographics is a fascinating one. I'm not an autograph collector, but these were inserted 1 in 68 packs. Some of them they're kind of interspersed amongst various products. This 98 Metal Universe was one of the sets that you could pull an autographics card from. Really rare cards, on-card autos, hand signed, just really hard to pull. Big-time collectors out there like to collect these autographs. But again, I'm not an autograph collector. I focus more on the parallels and primarily focus even more so on the Jordan inserts from the 90s. But a couple of other insert sets in here are Big Ups, Grant Hill Blow Up, which I'm not familiar with, Lynchpins, Neophytes, Planet Metal, and 2 for me, 0 for you. Only 3 of these sets feature Michael Jordan, and that is the Lynchpins, the Planet Metal, which we're going to talk about today in episode number 40, and the 2 for me, 0 for you, which oftentimes gets forgotten about. One of the little lesser known Jordan inserts from those Metal Universe sets. I mean, we're all super familiar with the Metal Universe parallels, the PMGs, the red, the green, and then what people affectionately refer to as the 1998 gold. Then there's the championship PMGs. But 2 for me, 0 for you is kind of an under the radar Jordan insert. And they were 1 in 96 packs, so it's not like they're common or low value. It's a pretty rare card, especially in high grade. The one interesting tidbit, every once in a while I'll throw out interesting tidbits. Big Ups, let's go find it. There it is. Those are 1 in 18 packs. I would assume this was supposed to feature people that were extremely gifted vertically, but for whatever reason, the most ground-bound player that I've ever seen, Juwan Howard, is included in here. Tim Duncan wasn't exactly a springboard either, but Juwan Howard was affected by gravity more than most of us. To be quite honest with you, but he's in Big Ups, so just a nice little tidbit out there for you guys. But we're here today to talk about the Planet Metal. Again, there was only 2 parallels. I always like to mention the parallel sets that emanate from these same base sets as well. You've got the Gem Masters, which only 3 of those have ever even been graded just about those are just very rare cards. Let's put it that way. If you've got a Gem Masters, your name probably starts with Nat and ends with Turner. And then the PMG, which are often referred to, as I said, as the PMG Gold, but they're really just precious metal gems. They just happen to be gold. They're not like technically gold parallels. They're just PMGs from 98. Planet Metal consists of 15 cards. We've got them pulled up on your screen, so this is your checklist. As always, for those of you out there who are set collectors, and I'm one of them, I'm not collecting this set. I always try to be transparent about that, but it would be a cool one to collect. Really tough to get in high grade. But for those set collectors, oftentimes we want to look at these insert sets and figure out what comprises these insert sets. And we're going to talk about Jordan in just a second, but from a set collector standpoint, there's 15 cards in the set. 8 of those 15 are Hall of Famers. That's a 53.3% Hall of Fame rate, so right at half, just one shade over half, which is a pretty standard number. We always look to see if there's any imposters included in this insert set. I don't see any true imposters, right? Bob Sura's not in here. But, the weakest players in here, you're talking about Antoine Walker, Kerry Kittles, Damon Stoudemire, and Marcus Camby. That's the weakest of the bunch out of these 15. And those players were by no means weak players. All fantastic players in their day. Not Hall of Famers, but very good basketball players. Even a couple All-Stars sprinkled in there. And I believe Camby was the National Player of the Year at Massachusetts, playing under the great John Calipari, now coach of Kentucky. These Planet Metal cards were inserted 1 in 36 packs. There are 15 players in the insert set, and therefore 15 times 36 is 540. That was Cajun math. I did not use a calculator. That's just me in my head. You'll soon realize I'm a brilliant Cajun and I can do fantastic math. I'm just kidding. I used a calculator. Let's look at the card itself. Let's go back to mine because I've got it pulled up on the screen. And thank you, PWCC. I keep my cards in the vault. And one of the main reasons is they protect the cards. I don't have to worry about humidity, alligators, or hurricanes, wiping out my collection. But another great benefit of PWCC is I can create these shareable links, show them to everybody out there. This is the Planet Metal Jordan die cut PSA 10 that I'm happy of. I actually also think I bought this on a PWCC Weekly Auction, if I recall. It's been a while. I've had it for a good bit, so I'm not sure. Let's read what's on the back because sometimes these narratives get corny. This is going to be a surprise to me and you because I haven't looked at this yet, but here we go. Mike, You've single-handedly redefined the NBA superstar. Straight up, you're the most recognizable athlete in the world, and not only the top player of your era, but quite possibly the best player ever to wear an NBA uniform. Possibly. Thank goodness they caught themselves there. 6-time finals MVP, 9-time all-defense, and career scoring average of 31.5 points per game. Who could possibly be like you, Mike? Love it when these narratives are in the addressing Mike directly as though he was going to obtain this card and use this card at some point. Anyway, that is it. If you notice, it's not a perfect round shape for the planet right here, okay? It's got this little lump right there, and that's pretty cool because that's the ball, right? So that makes it not quite a perfect semicircle type curvature to it. But anyway, that's the card itself, as good as it gets. You know, I haven't really done the math to figure out, is that Indonesia behind him? Are we looking at Antarctica? I don't know. I'm not a geographer, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I don't know what that is. But if somebody out there is a history buff or a geography fan, let me know what countries are behind him, or if it's just made up, terra firma back there behind him. All right, it's time to give the people what they want. And for those of you who have never seen these episodes, this is what people tune in for. They want to know what the hell is going on with this card. And so I've always got these pop and price charts that I pull up. It's always the same. I bring you guys the information. I derive this information from Card Ladder. That's my data pricing tool of choice. And so I usually pull up the top 4 grades, which, again, no slight to SGC at all. I just got to pick and choose. And so I've got the PSA 10 and 9, and I've got the BGS 9.5 and 9 pulled up on your screen. What stands out to me on this, we always like to look at what the population is of these cards, in those 4 grades. And as you can see in that left-hand column, you've got that. In the next column is how many have ever been graded by PSA or BGS. And then I calculate the percentage gem rate, right? So what percentage of the cards that have been submitted to PSA and BGS respectively have achieved a gem mint grade, right? That's the question. And as you can see, it's pretty similar for both grading companies. About a 15, 13, right? We're right about the same gem rates, which is not always the case. You'll see great disparities, believe it or not, when you look at these types of tables. Sorry, that was my phone going off. That's very unprofessional. That's another thing you'll learn about me. I'm not the most professional cat out there. I just like to bring you the good stuff. In the next column, we've got the sold price. This is what the card last sold for. As you can see, the PSA 10 last sold for $12,000. And then in the next column, we have the highest price ever recorded for a sale of each particular card in a public setting. Card Ladder provides that data because they pull sales from PWCC, eBay, MySlabs, Robert Edwards, Mile High, Golden, go down the list, right? So they pull it. $12,000, the highest this card has ever sold for in PSA 10. And $12,000 is the last sale of this card, which was just recently in, let me double check and make sure I got this right. That recently just happened, I think only a couple months ago. So this card has kind of bucked that trend where most of the highest sale ever was in 2021, somewhere around that first quarter. This one actually, the last sale in 2022 was the highest sale ever, and it was $12,000 on the nose. The other thing that stands out to me is if you look at the highest sold price and then the last sold price, the PSA 10 is obviously on the number like we just discussed, but if you look at the BGS 9, the last sale price is less than a third of the highest sale price, which seems like a large disparity. I'm not out here saying go grab a bunch of BGS 9 Planet Metal die cuts from 98, but if you were going to look from an investment perspective, I always like to look at those cards that have sort of dropped the most from their high because I'm a buy low, sell high type of guy. So if you're looking at it from an investment standpoint, and look, I've got it here. We can go look at it, right? Because we've always got these Card Ladder graphs that we can look at. Over the last 2 years, cards down 71% for God's sakes. And so here's your highs up here, 3,800. It sold 3,800 twice. And look where the BGS 9s come down to, all the way down to 1110. And it's been a slow and steady decline. Is that warranted? I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the fact that there's almost, double the number of BGS 9s as there are PSA 9s. And so maybe it's just finding its price discovery equilibrium point. Maybe 1100 is the right number. I don't know. And maybe the BGS 9 just ran too hot That's most likely because a PSA 9 is never sold for $3,800, as you can see on your screen. So maybe we're just finding that price equilibrium. Anyway, that's what stands out to me on this graph. In the next column, you see how many have sold in each particular grade over the last 6 months. You can see the average price over the last 6 months and then the percentage change. Obviously, the other thing that stands out is that the PSA 10 is up 96% over the last 6 months. Somebody banged that $12,000 number to bring this baby home into their collection or into their PWCC vault or into their bank vault or into their gun safe, hopefully. So the PSA 10 has run crazy hot. The PSA 9 and BGS 9 are pretty much, steady, standard, right on the number. And the same can be said for the BGS 9.5. So not a lot of price volatility over the last 6 months for those lower 3 grades that you'll see on the table right there. There are no BGS 10s. There are no BGS 10 black labels. Those don't exist, thank God. I wonder what those would sell for on the open market. I always like to point out, guys, I try to collect 90s inserts and parallels in gem condition if that's possible. Obviously, there are inserts and parallels that you can't find in gem mint condition, in which case I will gladly settle for a PSA or a BGS 9 mint copy, or even lower copy sometimes if you're talking about crazy stuff like PMGs and things like that. But I always like to look at what the combined gem percentage is of the cards that we're looking at on Explore the Card episodes. And the combined gems for PSA 10 and BGS 9 together is 59. And so my threshold's kind of 100. If a card has less than 100 combined gems in the 2 pop reports for PSA and BGS 9.5, I like it, right? That means the card's protected long term. It's going to be a relatively scarce card. You're talking about the most collected player in the world, and you're talking about less than 100 of them to go around all over planet Earth. And so 59 is a pretty low number for combined gems for this 98 Planet Metal die cut. Combined gems have sold 6 times over the last 6 months. I think that's a lot. Considering there's less than 60 in the world, 1/10 of the population of these things has sold over the last 6 months. My guess is people are trying to take profits. The card ran up, as you can see, in PSA 10 condition all the way to $12,000. People may be trying to cash in who got in maybe pre-pandemic, pre-Last Dance. I don't know. Comment below and let me know why you think so many of these 10% of the population has showed up on public sales platforms over the last 6 months. Seems like a lot to me. We always want to look at what's on eBay. So Cajun Cardboard's always going to take you over to eBay. If you guys are like, damn, Brian, I love these Planet Metal die cuts. I want one. How do I find one? I've got eBay pulled up. Again, I'm using eBay less and less and less as I get more familiar and more comfortable with PWCC. I've even dipped my toes into golden auctions lately a little bit, and I've been doing a ton of my buying on Instagram and Facebook because when you're talking about cards like this in a high grade, sometimes you don't see them. They don't come out of the weeds. You've got to go fish them out yourself, and that's where, really growing your brand and growing your name as a collector really helps, because you can go extract these cards from collectors who wouldn't otherwise put these cards for sale. So I've been doing a lot of buying on Instagram and Facebook lately, primarily Instagram. But if eBay is your platform of choice, I've got it pulled up. And so I have searched 1998 Planet Metal Michael Jordan, nothing in there about grades or grading companies, and 15 results. And so as you can see, a few of them at auction, but what you guys are going to notice, and I've talked about this on my videos in the past, there's way fewer auctions on eBay lately. Most of them are bins, buy it now, sorry, or best offer. But we've got one auction right there ending in a day. It's a good looking, clean, raw copy. Again, I haven't vetted any of these sellers. I would always caution you if you're buying on eBay, if you're new to the hobby. I guess most of you watching probably aren't, or you would have turned the video off by now because it sounds like I'm speaking a different language if you're new. But if you're new to the hobby, I always caution you to please do your best to vet the seller and make sure they're legitimate. It's not a hacked account. Make sure the card's real, especially if you're buying a raw card. But you'll see we've got PSA 8 options, a BGS 9.5 that's drastically, grossly overpriced for twice the value. A SGC 9 copy, which is good looking. I like the white back there, or maybe that's clear, but I can't tell. We've got a PSA 9 here for $5,500. A PSA 9 BGS 8.5. You get the drift. This is a 97 that pulled up because it's got 97 space 98. But honestly, out of the 15 results, 14 of them are legitimate results for 98 Metal Universe Planet Metal die cuts. And then if you are the gambling type and you want to rip a box, you only got a couple of options. I typed in 98 Metal Universe box, but of course, sometimes you're going to pull up, Sky box, whatever. So that's always going to be a problem. But you'll see there are hobby boxes, and then I think there are also blaster boxes. So just be careful, make sure you're buying the right boxes. That's what the hobby box looks like. There's one for sale for $34.95 OBO. Here's another one for $49.75. Here's another one for $2,500 on from Burbank Sports Cards, one of the great sports card shops in our hobby. And then here's what I was telling you about, a sealed blaster box. There's a baseball, there's a football snuck in, a couple Rodmans. So it looks like you got about 3 options. I don't recommend trying to do this. As we talked about, it's 1 in 540 packs. You'd have to open a hell of a lot of Metal Universe boxes to pull the Michael Jordan Planet Metal die cut. You're better off going and finding one of those that were listed on eBay or looking elsewhere and picking the card up in the particular grade that you want, probably in a slab. So we always ask, what do I own and what grade do I own? We talked about it at the beginning. I own the PSA 10, and then whether am I a buy, a sell, or a hold for all of those investors out there. I am a hold for what I have copyrighted. Don't steal it. Cajun Eternity, which is very similar to Real People Eternity. This card I intend to keep in my collection for a very, very, very long time. I have no thought of selling it. If someone offered me more than the last sold price, which was the record $12,000, I would politely decline. I'm just not looking to sell the card because while I have a huge investor, portion of me is investor first. I'm a true collector when it comes to the rare gem mint copies of the Michael Jordan cards. That's my passion in the hobby. For those of you who don't know me and haven't watched my channel yet, all paths lead to Michael Jordan. That's sort of my motto in this hobby. So no matter how much money I make on flipping or investing, all paths ultimately lead back to Michael Jordan. And my Michael Jordan collection would be the last cards in my collection that I ever sell. Everything would be sold before I got to any Jordan cards, at least unique copies of Jordan cards. Obviously, if I have duplicates, I'll move those cards for profits and then reinvest those profits into Jordan cards that I don't have in my collection yet. But we always look, on my channel, I do something where we look at the cards and I categorize them into low end, mid end, high end, or grail value. So I'm gonna pull my table back up. So low end for me is $0 to $1,000. If the card in that grade sells in that $0 to $1,000, then $0 to $5,000. So if it's $5,000 or less in that particular grade, I consider that low end. Again, is that low end generally for most collectors in the hobby? No, but for rare Michael Jordan parallels and inserts, that's a relatively low end if the card's less than $5,000. $5,000 to $10,000, I consider mid end. $10,000 to $20,000, I consider a high-end card in the Jordan world. And then over $20,000, I hate to misuse this word because, it really should be grail singular, but I'll use the word grail because everybody uses that in the hobby. Anything over $20,000, we would consider a grail. So in common lingo and dialect amongst Jordan collectors, if you're picking up a $25,000 card, you could, use the colloquialism and say, hey, I picked up a Jordan grail yesterday. And I think you would be safe saying that. And so when we look at these 4 grades for these, these 4 respective grades for this particular 98 Metal Universe Planet Metal die cut, the PSA 10 is considered a high card since it last sold for $12,000 because it's in that 10 to 20 range. And all 3 of the other grades are considered low end because you could pick up a copy for less than $5,000. Maybe the next BGS 9.5, if it's a quad gem or a gem plus, pushes that number up into the mid range, but for now the last sold was $3,480, so I would consider that a low end. And this is something fun that we do at the end of every one of these Explore the Card episodes. I pull up 3 cards that are almost identical in value, present, current, fair market value, and then I let you guys choose, and I choose which order we would prefer these cards, right? If you had 12 grand to spend right now and you could spend it on this PSA 10 Metal Universe that we're talking about today, the Planet Metal, or this 1998 Flair Showcase Take It to .net. Those are serial number to 1,000. Or this 1997 Big Men on Court, or this 1996 Ultra Gold Medallion. Which one would you prefer, and in what order? And so, the Gold Medallion's a pop 5, so it's the lowest pop out of these cards. The Big Men on Court's a pop 33. The Take It to .net's a pop 33. All these cards are worth about 12 and change, something like that at the current time, approximately based on the card ladder value, predicted value. If I had to choose between these 4 cards, I would take this Take It to .net first for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's serial numbered, and for me, that always adds a little bit something to the table. It is a very high serial number. It is 1,000. I get it, but it's still a pop 33, which is about the same as our as we looked at as our Planet Metal die cut from 1998. But this Take It to .net's down 44% over the last year. 7 sales, right? 7 out of the 33 have sold. Let that sink in. That's about 20% almost of the entire world's population. And that's probably why it's dropped 44%. So I would consider this a great buy low opportunity on the Take It to .net. Whereas our Planet Metal that we're talking about today, as we saw on our table here, just set the record. So I'm always looking for the card that's on the dip rather than the card that's on the rise. That's just me, and that's how I approach the hobby. The Big Men on Court has sold twice very steadily for just a shade over 12, so nothing to see there as far as growth rate. So I would Take It to .net first. That's this one right here. I would take our Planet Metal here next. Of course, I have one, but if I didn't, I'd buy this one next. I would buy the Big Men on Court next, even though it's pop 33. And I would buy this Ultra Gold Medallion, even though it's only pop 5. I will buy this one last out of those 4 cards. That's just me, and that's just my take. Let me know what order you would buy these 4 cards in, if you've got an opinion on that, in the comments below. On the Cajun cardboard scale of Jordan card relevance, I got it right. I always get that. It's like a tongue twister. So I have a 1 to 10 scale of how important a card is, and I use half grades, right? Just like BGS. And so on a scale of 1 to 10, I put our card of the day here, this 1998 Planet Metal die cut. I put this as a 7 on the scale of 1 to 10. That's just where I put the card based on value, scarcity, rarity, how difficult is it to obtain, what the gem percentage is, all those factors that we talked about today. That's where I put this card personally. And that's it, guys. Let me know where you would rank this card on a scale of 1 to 10. But that's my Cajun Cardboard scale of 1 to 10 of Jordan card relevance. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This is episode number 40. If you're new to watching my channel, and I've said this 100 times in this one episode, and you like these episodes, boy, do I have a treat for you. I have 39 more of them on my Cajun Cardboard YouTube channel. Just go back and find them. I think this is going to be the first episode that airs under the Luka Nation Network umbrella. I'm still working through all the tech stuff. I'm very excited to be a part of it. If you guys have watched the video to this point, you must like what I'm saying or how I'm saying it. I do appreciate you, and I don't take your time for granted. So thank you for using your time to digest my content. I'm very excited about being part of this channel, and hopefully I can bring you guys a lot more great content. You can count on these episodes almost every single Friday. Every once in a while, I'll miss a Friday, in a rare exception. I am a father of 7 kids, and I have a job or multiple jobs and a couple companies I'm running. But this is obviously my passion, as you can tell from the way that I like to talk about these Jordan cards. So you can probably count on one of these episodes damn near every single Friday afternoon. That's the plan. We're still working through some of the tech logistics about how to get my content over and get it produced for you. But I really appreciate your time. Consider hitting the subscribe button and the like button, and comment below and let me know what you think about this Planet Metal card from 1998, the die cut parallel, right? Not the 1997, but the 98 die cut. Anyway, more great Jordan content to come, more great outside the box content to come. If you're new, you're going to like some of the stuff I'm doing. I try to appeal to both collectors and investors and everybody that's in between, which I consider myself a hybrid collector investor. So thank you guys for watching. Keep collecting, stay positive in the hobby, and peace.